All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I'm your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am excited for our guest today because with me today, I have Wilton Rogers III from Simply Automate Incorporated, and we're going to be talking about robotic process automation and automating those nasty little business processes. So, Wilton, thanks for being here today.
Damon, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, this is going to be cool because we've had a few conversations and talking about robotic process automation and some of the things that we can do now in businesses to really help free our people's time up and allow them to do more valuable things. I think it's really cool what you're helping businesses do.
Yeah, really, I'm having a great time. I never thought I was gonna be in this industry, but now that I'm locked in, I love waking up in the morning and do what we do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we always like to start, Wilton, with you telling a little bit about yourself and kind of where you got to where you are today and kind of your journey. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been owning and operating businesses for over 30 years now, and right now RPA sort of fell in the automation world fell in my lap in 2017. Really didn't know much about it. Once I found out what it was all about, I was blown away by the capabilities, but didn't realize that it was when I got involved. I didn't realize that it was pretty much primarily for the enterprise world at the time. It wasn't really set up for smaller businesses or medium-sized businesses. And but I just knew that uh, you know, eventually it had to come, it had to, hit that market, and
Mm-hmm.
so I figure out a way to sort of prepare for that. And 5 years later, here we are, and sure enough, it's running fully, and we're running 100% in the small medium-sized businesses, small medium-sized enterprise, and we're having fun, having fun doing it. So, it was I won't say an accident, but I didn't expect to do what we're doing right now. 5 years ago, it was more like an opportunity to make a good living, and to be able to support my family in a way where I knew that it could be a nice little nest egg. But once I got involved, I saw the real opportunity to really impact businesses, and there was really no thought leaders or resources out there that I found that was doing it. So I was like, oh, hey, why don't I just start doing it myself?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just sort of, started hitting the ground running. Left the company that hired me in 2019, opened up my own company, and started from the ground up. And of course, like any other business, ran into a lot of obstacles, but just kept grinding away, and finally found our little niche. And from that niche, it sort of the branches start growing from that point. And it's been taking off ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So there's you've got some interesting stuff in your background because you talked about being a serial entrepreneur, and I see that you've done some score mentoring
Mhm.
in the past as well. So do you think that doing that mentoring and score helped you see what a lot of other business people are doing or not doing right, and really learn something about what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, well, the reason why I got in score is because, you know, I've learned from I came from the school of hard knocks, right? Just
Yeah.
sort of opening up my own, learning from a company and that industry, and I open up my own, and then I try to take my own route from that point and make it really easy for people to grab onto what we're doing. And I
Hmm.
realized that a lot of business people that were getting into business, they had great ideas, but they didn't have the path to make it easy for them for their ideas to really flourish, to really shine. There was a
Hmm.
lot of red tape that they had to go through in order to get to where they wanted to get to. And so when I realized that automation and entrepreneurship connected, I was like, wait a minute, if you can catch them early in the game, you can allow their creativity and their vision to happen a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And that's, we used to always say, it takes you 5 years to build a business to really, if you, in 5 years, you can either be running or you're going to fail, right? With automation, it's totally changed the game. That's what we grew up. I grew up in the
Mhm.
70s. So back then it was different. Like now it's like, hey, if you can really tap into technology right away, then you can take your vision to a whole different level instantly. And when I realized to put those two together, I was like, hey, I got to share this. Somehow I have to share this. And so when I went back, when I moved back, I was living in Houston when I was working, when I started the RPA industry. We moved back to New Mexico, and I realized
Mhm.
that a lot of businesses there had no idea what automation or really how to use technology. And when I went to these SCORE meetings, they were just still the old school leadership like I learned.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
hey, no, 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 no. You guys can't do that. You guys are gonna, you're gonna cripple them for a while. And so I start, presenting there and doing presentations there. And that's when people started like, okay, you know what, let me talk to Wilton and see what we can do to move forward. So SCORE was a real big move for me. And then of course, after about a couple of years, we got so busy that I was like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to step away from SCORE, but yeah, that's exactly why I got involved because I saw the need for it.
Yeah, because I never thought about it that way. I thought maybe you were going in just to mentor other people, like you said, with leadership, but you were going there and there were the specific to show them how automation could help them leapfrog. Because if you think about it in that early, if you adopted some basic automation principles early, it allows you to scale a lot faster and you're not spending money on administrative stuff where you can just people wise money where you can have people do more value added work for you.
Absolutely. And not only that is when you really understand how to use automation from the beginning, it allows you to really focus your attention on the front end of your business. So whenever you hire your personnel, your vision's already moving forward. You don't have to do all these repetitive type tasks, all these grabbing data and or invoices and behind the computer type work because all that can be automated. And once you understand how to do that, when you start hiring people from the beginning, it's really focused on the growth of your company.
Wow. Wow, that's a good point because that automation allows you to focus people on the higher value growth opportunities. Huh,
Absolutely.
very good. So let's back up just a moment. So your first exposure to robotic process automation. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is in 2017, well, I worked in the fitness industry and I had owned a couple of businesses in the fitness industry. And when I finally left it, I was like, okay, what do I really want to do? And I have my own company. I left that, sold it, and when I left that, I was like, what do I want to do? I sort of got bored, so I started working in the hotel industry. But I just didn't feel like, I was at a point where I grew to a point in my position where I knew that I really couldn't make a much of more difference. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna look for something else. And before I was getting ready to be hired by this huge hotel, and I was like, let me look what's out there. Well, RPA came in 2017. It was a company that was opening up that said, hey, we need a VP of sales and marketing and we want you to apply for it. So I applied and I got the position. And so I moved my family from New Mexico to Houston. And when I got involved, when I started seeing what it could really, I really didn't know what RPA was. I didn't know what
Hmm.
automation was. I knew technology, but just software. I just knew like,
Yeah.
hey, you buy the software, you can use it, it could really help you. I didn't really know the next level automation. And when I got involved, even before, um, you know, I started thinking about going on my own. I was like, this, I can really make a difference. This company already has the floor plan laid out for me. All I got
Hmm.
to do is start working. And when I start seeing that, what we were doing in the large enterprise world, and I start seeing how much money we were saving these companies by automation, I was blown away. I mean, we weren't saving tens of thousands, we were saving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the yearly basis, on a monthly basis. I was like, wow. And then they start branching, they start using more and more and more. And I was like, wait a minute. If these large companies are growing, that means they're taking business away from the small businesses because they're able to, move a lot faster, and they're going to leave the small,
Mm-hmm.
the small businesses behind. So at that point, I really started looking at different automation softwares, talking to different developers, working with different developers, working with different analysts, and just really understanding what RPA was really about and how the different software can work for different companies. So when I started reaching out to companies and saying, hey, you know what, we have, I can help you out with your automation, processes. We can help automate. When I started talking to them, and I realized that there was a, a limit to where we can help them. There was it could only go so far. At that point, it cost too much.
Yeah.
The capability of the software isn't something that they needed or they couldn't use. I was like, wait a minute. I have to really start looking at different alternatives here for different companies because I was more of a service. I didn't want to put myself on the software and say, okay, let me sell this software.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about the client. It was more about what does the client need, not only now, but what do they need moving forward in the future? Is there a software out there that I can find that will help them now, but help them prepare for the future? And the more and more I start reaching out to these companies or the software vendors, I realized there wasn't very many of them. And I probably worked with about 15, 20 different vendors over the last
Wow.
6 years, 5.5 years. And I finally found vendors that can cover all the way from large enterprise to small businesses. So now when I reach out to businesses and I figure out what they're looking to do, I can find out exactly what software they can use, where they're at right now, and where they're looking to expand. If they're looking to grow just locally, are they looking to expand nationwide, worldwide? And then what kind of technology, what kind of automation do you need to do that? Once I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I have, the software that can help them, that was a game changer. And I realized there was nobody really doing that. And it wasn't like I was trying to become the first to figure that thing out or anything like that. It was just like, what does this company need? How can I service them? What software is
Mm-hmm.
going to help them from instead of them having to go through these different hurdles and try to figure it out themselves and all these roadblocks and expenses. Let me try to be that thought leader, that subject matter expert to sort of lead them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized, the software that can do it, I was like, okay, I need to do this, and I need to build a team around this. So now, when we start helping companies, I can teach people how to do that because what I was noticing when I was helping companies that even in the small, medium-sized enterprise and even the large enterprise that were already doing it, they were using the wrong software. They were limited to what they can do, but they were sold on, hey, we can help you. We can help you do X and Y, but we can't help
Mm-hmm.
you do Z. We can't help you do Z. When I realized, what you're using the wrong software, you implemented it in a way where it's not going to be really productive. I knew I had to really build a team around that, and so I started building relationships with developers and analysts using these different softwares. And little by little, when we start being in business, I started asking them, "Hey, you want to this group up, this team up, to start working together?" So now we have nine or 10 developers that have all RPA experience. I have two full-time analysts that have RPA experience that have worked with multiple different software. So, but I built these relationships over a period of time working on different projects.
Mm-hmm.
And now that they saw a better opportunity working on on a bigger scope, and not stuck to one software, they're like, hey, I want to join.
Yeah.
So we sort of built our team around that, and ever since then, it's sort of, we've been bringing in new developers. We're training a new analyst that don't have the experience, but we've already built the platform. We've already built the process on how to follow it, and you can learn it. So now we're like, okay, now we're ready for scale. Now we're ready for scale. So we're
Mm-hmm.
preparing for that now.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. We'll come back to that in a minute because one of the things that I think people don't understand, and I'd like to understand better, is the types of things that people look to um, make faster, easier, whatever, with robotic process automation. So, back in 2017, when you were working with the big enterprises, how are they using robotic process automation? What kinds of things are they doing that saves them these hundreds of thousands of dollars?
I think, well, one of the biggest ones I think, is invoice processing is one, bank reconciliation, anything that they were really doing when they were grabbing data from one source and trying to put that information into another source or another application. Those were all manual processes, and
Okay.
a lot of these softwares and applications, they don't talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
They're limited. They're in a lot of business say, hey, we have automation software. If it's a cookie cutter, if it's something that's already built in, it's not it's not full automation because there's manual work that either goes before it or after it. You can't Most software you can't take, let's just say for invoice processing, for example, you scan in these invoices. You have to read those invoices and you have to put it into into an application, and from the application you have to save it onto your computer. You have to save it, and then when you save it you have to email it to everybody, and then there's different steps that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find a software that does it all, first of all, it's hard to do that unless you're on the enterprise level. Second of all, it gets very pricey. It's very pricey because every invoice we probably have done, I don't know, I'm going to say about 100 different invoice processing development over the last 5 years, and not one of them is the same as the other. There's something in between within them that's
Wow.
the logic that they've already built is somewhat different, right? So we go in and say, don't change up what you're doing. If it's already working, let's see what you're doing. Let's map it out. We'll design it, build a workflow, and see what works best. So invoice processing was a huge one for enterprise. Bank reconciliation. We're working with major CPA firms, and I think like um, pay, payables, receivables, things like that were just massive. There were ones that were we start seeing that process that were right away. And the thing about it is, once you start talking to these companies, they start coming back to us and start saying, by the way, we're doing this process. We're getting all these leads come in, and
Mm-hmm.
from these leads, we have to go through the leads and we have to put them into our CRM, and then from our CRM we have to send them in, we have to do all these things, and then we have to put notes in them. And I was like, well, is it repetitive? Do you guys do the same thing over and over? It goes, yeah. It goes, well, we can automate that. So what they start doing is once they start seeing what we can do, they start realizing, I'm doing this manually. Let me call Wilton and his team to see what we can do to automate. So they're the ones that start coming to us, are saying, hey, let's automate this, let's automate that. Because now that they start seeing one or two processes being automated that's already taken away from their from their
Mm-hmm.
you know their daily tasks, they start saying, okay, we have more. I have more. This one only takes me 15, 20 minutes a day, but let's automate that little tedious task. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And what we found out is once you take those tasks totally away from them, that they feel a weight lifted off their shoulders. We had a client in the enterprise world saying that they had 6 employees that were doing invoice processing. They were doing thousands and thousands of processes, and they had been doing them for years. And the minute we took that process away from them, they felt a big weight lifted off their shoulders because
Mm-hmm.
every day they knew exactly what they were going to do. They go to work saying, "Oh, I got to do these processes over and over," and they didn't feel valued. They didn't feel like they could be creative. They weren't feeling like they were actually giving back to the company. They were just there for a paycheck. Once we removed those and they were able to move on to other areas of the company, they felt like they brought more value to the company. That they felt like the company saw them in a different light. And when I started seeing that, I was like, okay, now we got to take this downstream and bring it down to the small, medium-sized enterprise and small, medium-sized businesses. But there's probably hundreds of different ones, but I'd probably say there's about 4 or 5. Those 4 are probably the biggest ones we've seen in the enterprise world.
Okay. So what really changed then to allow this to come from the enterprise to the smaller businesses now? I mean, was there a technology development that made it simpler? Did the software just get better and better and easier? Or what really changed so that now a small business can use this?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I was in the enterprise. I'll tell you the story. Not many people know the story, by the way. I was talking to one of our partners was one of our partners is Automation Anywhere. They're a huge RPA, one of the top 3 in the world, multi-billion-dollar company. And I was talking to the developer that we were working with and an analyst, and I was just like, I'm tired of working this enterprise, because at the time, working with enterprise in 2018, I started seeing I'm not getting a lot of all the deals I was talking to. It's like, okay, well, we're going to talk to you. We're going to talk to 2 more vendors. So we want to work with. I'm like, what do you mean talk to 2 other vendors? So it was more, they were doing their bit, trying to figure out who they want to go with. And I was like, I don't want to play that game anymore. I just didn't want to play that game. And when I realized that, no one was moving downstream,
Hmm.
to me, I was like, okay, I need to really focus on how to bring that downstream. So one of the analysts from Automation Anywhere told me, you know, I've been working technology for a long time, automation for a long time, and because I told him I'm tired of working in the enterprise world. He goes, there's software out there right now that can tap into the small, medium-sized enterprise. It's more affordable for them, but they're limited. They're limited because of the capabilities, because the small, medium-sized enterprise still have a vision of the large enterprise. They want to do everything the large enterprise want to do, but they don't want to pay the same price. They can't
Hmm.
afford to pay the same price. So I just started doing a lot more research on what software was out there. And little by little, I started finding software we can work with and start working with other smaller, medium-sized enterprise companies. And one of them was called Help Systems Automate. And I went from Automation Anywhere to Help Systems, and Help Systems allowed me to move into the small, medium-sized enterprise. So I started working with them. We did some projects, obviously, from them, and I started saying, okay, this is great, but I'm in a market right now where there's not a whole lot of people, and I can really market this. But my love was in the small,
Hmm.
medium-sized business. So when I started trying to work downstream with help systems, I realized it still can't help small businesses, because it still costs, it's still a 7-figure, software. Even though it's going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's still, I mean, six-figure software over a period of time, but it's still going to still save them a lot, but small businesses still can't afford that. It was just too
Hmm.
much. And then in 2020, in fact, it was September of 2020, my project manager, Dimitri, said, "Hey, you got to look into this company called Electronic." I was like, "Who in the heck is Electronic?" It was a company that just came out, a software RPA vendor that came out, and they said that they can help uh, the small, medium-sized businesses, service management providers. I mean, manage the MSPs. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, if let me look into it. So I looked into it, and they basically said you can do unlimited automation. You pay this amount, you can do unlimited automation. I'm like, okay, if I pay this amount and I can do limited automation, my return is going to be massive, and my savings for my clients is going to be huge from the beginning.
Hmm.
So we started working with them, and at this time we've already had developers. We had I think three or four developers that have that expertise in RPA, but we realized there was limitations to their software. And I was like, oh man, okay, this is, we start working with our present clients that were on Automation Anywhere and Help Systems, and we said, okay, well, let's try this software and just do it side by side and see what we can do.
Hmm.
And so we would build a process that we've already built for one of our clients, and I would go back to electronic and says, we like it, but we can't use your service because you can't do X, Y, and Z with our client. Automation Anywhere can, help systems can, so we're going to stay with them. What I realized that they come back about a day or two later and say, hey, upgrade your software, we can do it now. Like, what do you mean you can do it? So our developers would look into it, start developing, and they came back to me and said, we can do this. We can move this client over. And one of our clients that we moved over, they were paying, I think they were paying like about, I can't remember what it was, but let's just say they were paying about $10,000 a month for the software, right? And it was still saving them, probably about $50,000, $60,000 a month. But if I moved them over to electronic software, and I can cut that cost, they would be paying like $1,000 a month. So it's like, wait a minute, paying $1,000 a month, that's a huge savings. So their return's gonna be huge. So I was able to move them over, and we saved them hundreds and thousands of dollars. I was like, okay, who are these guys? So I reached out to the founders of the company, and I wanted to figure out who they were, what their vision was, where they're really going with this company, where they're really going. And so I said, okay, I'm going to try to invest in this little bit. I'm going to try to invest and see. Well, our developers start working and starts finding little hurdles that we couldn't do, but we start seeing the same thing. They would go back and we put in some, our little tickets to them, and they'll come back in 24, 48 hours and say, you can do it now, you can do it now. And I was so impressed by them. And this was 2.5, but a little over 2 years ago. And they've grown. At the time, I think when we first started with them, they might have 20 employees. And now they have, I think, 300 plus employees all over the world because they've grown so fast. So we got involved with them really, really early. So we've been blessed to do that. And our developers were able to work with them directly and find out what their limitations were. And they were able to work on those limitations that they had and improve those areas. So at that time, I was like, okay, we're all in with them. So being able to work with with these vendors from the beginning and really building relationships with them allowed us to be able to do what we're doing today. So now we know going into a project, whatever our clients need, are we capable of doing it? Yes or no? Not only capable, we know we're capable of doing most of automation, but is the price going to be, is it going to be a return for our clients?
Yeah.
So now we built that relationship with especially with Electronique, to be able to say, okay, we're hitting the market, and we built a process that can be duplicated thousands and thousands of times. So, it took us a while. It took me about 3.5 years to really go out there and do my research. But we found some really good partners that have allowed us to really tap into a market that's hasn't even been cracked yet.
Yeah, that's cool, because I was wondering what it was. Basically you found an innovative vendor that was willing to work with you to solve customer needs. And
yes.
So that's cool. We have Dimitri's in here. He said the story is powerful. And,
that's him.
And then he said he's sharing the free playbook too. So if anybody wants to see the RPA playbook, go to the website there.
Yeah.
So as you looked at this and you went, okay, now we got this solution. We've been doing this in the big companies and going into the small ones. You're starting to work into them. What are some of the things that happened that you were like, wow, I thought we were going to come in here and be able to do this, and we were, but unintended positive consequences? What are some of the things that you see when someone takes the time to really think about this and go back and holistically look at their business and say, okay, what can we use robotic process automation to do in our business? So what are some of these things that you've seen and go, wow, I didn't even think we would be able to help that, but we're helping it now?
Yeah, great question. What I learned is pretty much everybody that we talk to really doesn't know the impact that RPA can have, right? So having thousand conversations, I was like, okay, what am I missing? Why aren't they really understanding the impact that it can have? Because I can go in there and say, you know what, we've done invoice processing, we've done, bank reconciliation, we've done, whatever. We've done all these manual processes. But to them, it doesn't matter. It's like, that's not my pain point. It's not my pain point. So for us, we really have to hit a feeling. It's like, okay, where are you seeing the pain of your daily routine? Where is that? Once we understood that, and once we were able to figure out what that was, and we could show them exactly, taking that away from you, what does that do for you? First of all, they get the feeling, they know how it feels. All of a sudden, like I said, that weight is lifted off their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
But the educational part and the knowledge part comes a lot faster. And the reason why is because, and like I said, every business is different, and their processes and their pain points are different. So you have to figure out internally what do they want to make change inside the walls. Only they know. We don't know. We can give them ideas, but we really don't know. But once you show them and educate them on one process that they can take and say, and they can understand it, they're the ones that give us the lead, saying, hey, by the way, let's do this, let's do that. We just did one now for a law firm, and they get hundreds and hundreds of checks every single day.
Oh, wow.
And they were getting these checks in. I think they do credit or debt collectors. They're debt collectors.
Okay.
Right. So they would get checks every single day, right? And they had people getting these checks. If they paid online, they would get, obviously they get the online statement saying it's been paid. That person would input information into the computer, or they get a mail check that came in. They would have to put it in, and well, they said, hey, we want you to automate. Can you automate this? So yeah, we can automate that. And any check that came in, once we understood where that check came from, the bot got that information from the check, put it into their system, save it, close that account out, saying it's taken care of, or here's the balance, whatever the case may be. Whatever that logic was built behind it, it would do that. And the reason why we were able to do that is because they understood from the beginning, that RPA can work with invoice processing. Why can they do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it was more important about educating our clients first, and that's the most important thing, because, like I said, we have hundreds of use cases. And if you go to our website, or if you can download use cases, but it's not until you can work internally and allow them to feel the impact that it's going to make a difference. So for us, it was like, education is the most important thing. And the only way to educate them is allow them to be able to see it, feel it, and be able to feel the impact on it. So, and now we've done so many, I don't even know what they are. David, I could tell. We're finding new ones. I have to tell our developers, hey, by the way, what was that invoice? What was that one called? And it's file something processing. I'm like, what is that? I said, I don't even know. We start making up things, right? It's like, that's what they told us what it was. And okay, well, because that was a pain point for them.
Yeah.
And that's not in our use case downloads, because it's not normal. It's not one that everybody uses, but for that company specifically, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's educating. It's educating, because once you educate internally, they'll start looking at different processes. In fact, I'll give you one more example. Is we have a property management company. They have 12 employees. We've automated, I think, 9 or 10 processes internally. The first couple of ones were ones that saved them a lot, right? Saved them, 10, 15 hours here and there every single week, right? Now we're automating processes that save them 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes, here and there. And the reason why is because now they understand the capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and now they understand the capabilities, they're all in. They're all in. So the educational part was the most important thing. So we've done, processes, naming processes, we've probably done, 50, 60 different type of processes. um, in the different industries,
Uh-huh.
and the different levels of companies. So yeah, it's growing.
Well, I think about, so if you're like a distributor, or you're and I think about, because I come from manufacturing, right? Manufacturing and e-commerce. So what's a pain in the butt in manufacturing is incoming, especially if I'm doing a lot of different things, because you
Hmm.
can get literally truckloads that has, I don't know, a bunch of different stuff from a bunch of different vendors. So it's not like I have a big list on a sheet of paper and yeah, this is it. There's a lot of different formats, different kinds of incoming paperwork from different places. And people spend hundreds of thousands of hours a year just going, hey, Damon sent us these 6 bolts that I needed, special made for us to do this. And then Jim did this, and Sue did that, and Wilton did that. And
Hmm.
there's people sitting there punching that stuff in every day, because going from the paper to the computer, which you guys do a lot of that robotic process automation on that. I would think that these kind of things is in a warehouse or distribution situation could be very good for that.
Oh, it's a major impact. Well, we have, and the great thing about manufacturing is that manufacturing is most of the ones that we worked with. They're built on legacy systems. They've had
Yeah.
the systems that have been there for a long time,
Old.
right? Yeah, yeah, and they have so much information that needs to be, you know, transferred from one area to another area. And in fact, we have a couple of testimonies if you go to our YouTube account. And what we're able to do is grab that information that one of the processes that we did is, it was like shipping or something. I can't remember, but it was shipping. But every time that they would get, if it didn't get there on time or was the wrong stuff, they wouldn't get paid, or they'll get
Hmm.
fined, or they'll get whatever the case may be, right?
Oh yeah.
So they were paying a lot of fees, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on fees, because of wrong shipments, wrong pay, wrong equipment, whatever. We eliminate the whole thing. We eliminated that completely. And the reason why they were doing it is because they had the system they've been using for 10, 15 years. I don't know how long, it's been a long time. And they
Hmm.
didn't even think that we can grab that information from there and move it. And I said, we can. And when we did it, they were just blown away. And they were able to take what we built. They had 5 locations, nationwide. We did it for
Wow.
one location, and they were able to take what we built and implement it at all 5 other locations. And it saved them thousands and thousands of hours, and it saves them hundreds and thousands of dollars, because it didn't come back with mistakes. It didn't make these
Hmm.
errors, these manual errors, these human errors that they're making on a regular basis. It eliminated that. If the bot didn't understand, what to do or where to go, it was like it sent it back to we call it a gatekeeper, to someone, say, hey,
Yeah.
you didn't tell me about this one. It's almost like an assistant, right? Hey, I never heard about this one. What about this one? And once you enter that information in there, the bot and hit send, the bot will continue. And now the bot knows, okay, next time I know this will happen if this happen, if I run
Yeah.
into this again. So it was always the process improvement as well. And once they saw that, it was a game changer. So manufacturing, I think right now is manufacturing and accountings are probably the 2 top industries that we see for us that are really, taking RPA by storm right now.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool, because as you were talking about that earlier, I was just thinking about the thousands of people that are working on that every single day, with paper in their hand. And yeah, I got to check that I got everything, but then I go over to the computer and I put everything in,
Hmm.
which, if you don't have to do that step, is huge for them,
It is.
because that time to put it into the computer, first of all, time, B, mistakes.
Hmm.
And this inventory accuracy is crucial in those kind of situations. And if you put 10 in and you really only got one, or something like that, it's a big deal. It's a
That's
big
right.
deal.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We got a few more. Gregory Hills here. Thanks for being here today. He downloaded the information too. And then we got
Thank you,
Rob.
Greg.
Rob's here today.
Rob, my
And he
man.
says
Yeah.
hello. Says hello.
I got
Yeah,
some.
yeah.
Yeah, Rob and Dimitri have been huge over the last. They've been with the company since for the last couple of years. Obviously, Rob started off at the beginning. He was my, you know, I think when I first started my company, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I need someone to help me with this." And Rob's been on board ever since. So Rob and Dimitri have been a huge part of the growth of the company and where we're at today. So those are my brothers. That's family. That's family.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Good stuff. And it's nice when you can have people around you like that, because it allows you to build a culture and a business that really lifts everyone around you. So it's good.
absolutely.
It's good.
Absolutely.
So as we do this, this is really interesting, because I think more about this now and learning more about the robotic process automation and what you can really help people, and talking about manufacturing and accounting. Those are a couple things that, man, that's just huge. It's huge when you set, and I'm thinking about these like I said, growing up in manufacturing, I just think about all the warehouses I've been in, and all the other places that you can use this, even in places where you have people that are doing manual whatever, where they have to write things down and then it
Mhm.
has to go into a system somewhere. And there's people that were doing that. This, like, wow, there's a lot of that stuff that happens. So, and
Yep.
if you're talking about invoice processing, you're talking about, like, if people are paying invoices, you had that example of people are paying something, a lot of checks coming in, a lot of probably mail in payments kind of stuff. That, wow, there's just so many applications for this where you can radically change the way you're doing business, because that's really not value added work for those people doing it. It's necessary, but it's not value added. If that person can be,
Exactly.
yeah, making sure that, hey, I got 1,000 payments in and 1,000 payments went into the system, that's a lot better, and they can be off to doing much better things.
Absolutely. I think the fastest way to really understand RPA and the power and the impact it makes is if you can just sit back and you could think about, okay, when I go to work tomorrow, what I'm going to do. When I go to work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what are the things that I do? What are the repetitive processes that I do on a regular basis that I'm going to do over and over and over again? That's where you want to start. At least it may not be the process you want to automate right away, but it's the place that you want to start to be educated. And
Mm-hmm.
once you get educated on that, and you see it, then you'll know the power of RPA, because anything that you are doing manually that's repetitive, that you can do over and over, and that is rule based, and that you've already built the logic from it, right? You know, you're gonna turn your computer on. You know, you're gonna grab that Excel spreadsheet. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna open up this application. You're gonna grab that information, put it in the Excel spreadsheet. You're gonna save it here, and then you're gonna download it to QuickBooks or whatever the case may be. All that different things, all those different things. Once you realize that is a manual process, that's a great place to start, at least to be able to get the knowledge and education you need. Because after
Mm-hmm.
that, you can say, that's the process I want to automate. Or you can say, I understand it, but I have a bigger pain point that I want to take care of right now that I know it's going to really impact our company.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do is we'll go and map it out, right? And then out of that map, it may be 5 or 6, 7, 10 different tasks within that process from beginning to end that they do manually, right? We'll find one part of that process to do a POC, proof of concept. And we do that right away, because once we do that and we show them that proof of concept, that's when they're like, okay, I get it. I get it. So, and it happens quick. I mean, it doesn't take months and months. It takes days, maybe a
Wow.
week. So it happens pretty fast.
So you can identify and try these things pretty quickly. And then, so if you automated one step in the process, is it pretty easy then to go, well, if I've got this part of the process automated, let's see if we can add this piece and then this piece and this piece to it to actually do more and more? Or is it pretty much you want to go in and do the whole thing at once when you're doing it?
Great question. What we'll do is we'll go in there and we'll map out from beginning to end. We'll map it
Yeah.
out,
Okay.
and we know exactly how much of that can be automated, right?
All right.
But we pick one part of that to automate first, because time wise, your time, our time, gathering all that
Mm-hmm.
information gathering and all that may take a while. But information gathering and development for a part of that task doesn't take that long, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once we do that, then you get a bigger picture. Like, okay, now I get it. Once that's already developed and deployed, and you're seeing it work, you already know that we can do the whole thing. It's already been mapped out for you.
Yeah.
And most of the time, like, okay, now that they did the POC, let's go ahead and automate the whole thing. At that point,
Okay.
they're bought in because they see it,
Yeah.
right? And if you do the whole process at one time at the beginning, sometimes they don't get bought in because, like, okay, you got to get information here, then this step, then this step. No, it takes a while. Let's do this one little piece first, and then once you see this, you'll be bought in and you'll see the value, and then you'll be able to give us the information. Because as soon as once you start seeing how we work, and you see the value of it, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, now I know get this done pretty fast. And when you know that this process, it can be automated fully, and you see the value out of it, you'll want to get it done right away.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're about to time, but I do want to ask you a couple things about the future. What do you really see for the future of this? Because I mean, we're talking about the things that you're doing now, but what do you really see things that you can automate now that may be able to be automated in the future? That's pretty exciting.
You know, a lot of things that we're working on right now is a lot of what's called unstructured data, right? We can automate that, but it's a lot of it takes some AI work into it. We're working with a client right now that gets hundreds, no, I take it back, thousands and thousands of documents from different vendors all over the world every day. And a lot of them come in with handwriting and different parts, right? So it's
Wow.
almost like when you go to the bank, right? And you if you go to ATM and you write a check and you put I'm depositing a check, you handwrite it $200 in there and you stick it in the ATM,
Mm-hmm.
it sucks it up. All of a sudden it says, oh yeah, it says $200 on my it says $200, yes, accept, right? Those are things that we're doing now. Those are the things that we're actually doing right now.
Wow.
So we see that growing right now because there's still a lot of handwritten stuff is being done. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. Not only are we trying to do that, but now we have an easier way. If we can't grab the information, how to get it to someone so they can actually make that manual change, input that information, hit send, the bot will take it from there. It's almost like asking somebody, I can't read that. It says, does it say $200 or $300? It says $200. Okay. I put $200 and they'll send it to the bot and the bot will take it from there, right? So
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. But the biggest thing right now we're seeing is, you know, from 2017 to 2020, it was more about RPA software. I mean, the software was growing. UiPath just went public. They're huge, right? Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism. I mean, there's probably 50, 60 vendors out there right now.
Wow.
But what we're seeing right now is that the software is sort of slowing down. It's still growing, but it's not growing as fast. The service part is booming. And what I mean by that is when a client does one process, they're going to do multiple processes.
Yeah.
So the service part is growing. And the what we've seen from 2017 to now has, I mean, it's not even close. I mean, it's probably for us, the speed has totally changed. But people are being educated on it. And once they're educated on it and they see it happening, they just want more and more and more of it. So the service part of RPA is really taking off. It's totally taken off. So the future is really bright. You know, it was either Gardner or Forrester, I can't remember who it was, but they said by 2025, every company that's going to move forward fast, will have some kind of RPA implementation. Doesn't matter what side you are. So people have to, this is the time to sort of really understand what it is because it hasn't really even cracked the surface. It really hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's barely getting off the ground right now. But if you can get in now, man, it's going to be a huge game changer for your company. And and right now, the price and demand is in the client's favor. It's on their side, and we're starting to even from our point, we're starting to see the change in the price and demand because the demand is a little bit more now. So
Yeah.
we're not the same price that we were 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're not going to be the same price today like we are in 2 years, right? So
Hmm.
this is the time to really get in and understand it, because you're gonna see that your ROI is going to be ridiculous, and we'll be able
Yeah.
to show the ROI even before you start the build.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been just an incredible conversation, because I learned so much talking to you about it, and I getting educated myself on it. It's great because I see the application for this in so many different places. I just want to thank you for being here today and talking to us about business process automation and robotic process automation, and really helping these small and mid-sized businesses take advantage of it so they can be competitive and get the people doing the higher value work.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I love spreading the word, and for me, it's really helping people understand it. Whether they go with us or not, that's up to them. But it's just really getting to understand it, and that's why. Thanks for Dimitri to really bringing out the RPA playbook, which I built. I created a playbook about a few months ago. And Gregory, thank you for downloading it,
Yeah.
because I think that's important for people to grab, because I've talked having thousands of conversations. Everybody is on a different mindset and a different level of technology and automation. And the RPA playbook gives you an idea of where are you in your automation journey. That book would allow you to go from where you're at and take it to the next level and beyond.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, your RPA playbook, the robotic process automation playbook, is on the simplyautomateinc.com website. So make sure, if you're interested in that playbook, get there, download it, take a look at it, and get educated. And if go ahead, I'm sure you've got a contact us form there. Where's a good place for people to contact you or the right person at Simply Automate? Is it on LinkedIn here?
Yeah, the best place to contact me directly is on LinkedIn, right? If you send me a
Okay.
message, I'll read through the spam, all that different spam that we get. So if you mention that you saw me on here, I'll definitely contact you here. Reach out. You can contact us on our website. You can go to our website, simply automate inc.com, and try to contact us there. Myself, Dimitri, Rob, we have a couple more people that will be able to
Awesome.
help you out there, especially if you're industry specific. You can go on there and just say what industry you're in. We can send you use cases for your specific industry. That way you can get a better idea. So get at least start being a little bit more educated on RPA, and a little bit more awareness of what's happening in your industry, but also have the resources and the experience to help you guide you as you start to going into the journey or starting to improve your journey of where you're at right now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much today. We got Wilton Rogers III here today from Simply Automate Inc., talking about robotic process automation and showing us how to get those business processes automated. Thanks so much for being here, Wilton. Thanks for all the listeners, Dimitri, Rob, and Gregory, everyone else that's listening. We'll be back again with another great guest later this week. Thank you.
You